Amidst the towering skyscrapers of Manhattan, New York City, where every glass facade reflects the ceaseless rush of life and every alleyway hides a new tale of success, resided the Sterling family. Their family business, Sterling International, was an indomitable name in the city's real estate world. From the Manhattan skyline to the newly constructed luxurious apartment complexes in Brooklyn and the commercial hubs of Queens, each of their projects was a symbol of elegance, modernity, and visionary planning. Yet, beneath this glittering success lay a deep family rift, a long sigh of suppressed discontent, at the heart of which was the youngest member of the family, Sarah Sterling. From a young age, Sarah was a pathfinder, different from the rest of her family. While her parents, uncles, and aunts were engrossed in the complex equations of the corporate world, the fluctuations of the stock market, and billion-dollar deals, Sarah would immerse herself in her own world of imagination. She would hold a brush and a canvas, or spend hours teaching underprivileged children to paint at the local community center. Her dream was to create a fusion of art and social service, which was completely at odds with her family's commercial mindset. Her decision to drop out of art school was a severe blow to the family. Her father, a successful investor himself, would often sigh and say, "Sarah, why don't you understand? This world is very tough. Art doesn't feed you, nor does it bring respect." Her mother, who was determined to uphold the family's image at social events, often avoided Sarah, as if her presence was an unwanted blemish on the family's perfect portrait. At every family gathering, especially the Sterling family's traditional annual Christmas dinner, she was often ridiculed as the family failure or loser. Her uncle, Richard Sterling, who considered himself the sole worthy heir of Sterling International, had a sharp and sarcastic tone. "Sarah, there's no place for dreamers like you at Sterling International. To survive here, you have to be realistic, you have to dream of money. What good will your art stuff do? No one will buy your paintings in a gallery." Richard's wife, Martha, who always agreed with her husband's every word, would adjust her glittering diamond necklace and say, "Can art really feed you? To uphold the Sterling family's honor, you have to achieve something. Your community work isn't increasing our status." Sarah would listen silently, her eyes filled with unspoken pain, but deep within that pain lay a spark of firm resolve. She knew that, even if her path was different, her goal was clear: to achieve something in her own way, to do something for society that could not be measured solely by monetary standards. Arthur Sterling, the patriarch and founder of Sterling International, was the only person in the family who understood and unconditionally supported Sarah. A visionary who built this empire from scratch, Arthur knew that Sarah possessed a rare combination of creativity and humanity, capable of achieving more than just earning money. He would often call Sarah to his study, where a unique peace reigned amidst the scent of old books, maps, and artworks collected from around the world. There, he would tell Sarah, "Money is just a means, Sarah. True wealth lies in your values and foresight. To change this world, you cannot just chase money, you have to think new, take risks. Your love for art, your compassion for people, these are what will set you apart from others. These are your true strengths." Arthur respected Sarah's love for art and encouraged her to think about how art could be merged with new technology. He would often discuss ideas for various new startups with Sarah, especially those that combine technology and creativity. Sarah, too, would eagerly talk to her grandfather about these topics, mentioning new apps and platforms that could open new horizons for artists, or how virtual reality could be used to bring art to more people. Arthur would listen attentively, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. He knew that what Sarah saw, the rest of the family could not. As Arthur aged, his health gradually deteriorated. He knew his time was running out. So, he secretly began working on his will and the future of the family business. He noticed that Richard and his sons were only chasing immediate profits, but in Sarah, He saw long-term planning and a sense of responsibility towards society. He realized that the future of Sterling International should be in the hands of someone who valued not just money, but also values. He secretly summoned his trusted lawyer, Mr. David Stone, and had a long discussion with him. Mr. Stone was Arthur's old friend and legal advisor, who had witnessed every rise and fall of the Sterling family. Arthur told Mr. Stone, "David, I know my time is running out. My family, especially Richard, is only looking at my money. They have never considered Sarah worthy. But I know Sarah is my true heir. She has the foresight that will take Sterling International to new heights. I want my will to be drafted in such a way that Sarah receives her due respect and power." Mr. Stone listened carefully to Arthur and, according to his instructions, drafted a highly complex and well-thought-out will that would bring an unexpected turn for everyone in the Sterling family. This will contained clauses that no one else knew about except Arthur. Suddenly, one winter morning in New York, Arthur's passing cast a shadow of grief over the Sterling family. But more than grief, there was a suppressed tension about the inheritance. The same question lingered in every family member's mind: who would inherit Arthur's vast fortune and the control of Sterling International? Richard and his sons were certain that they would own everything. They had already begun planning to divide various positions in the company among themselves. Richard would boast to his friends, "Finally, the reins of Sterling International are coming into my hands. Now I'll show them how to do business." They had no concern for Sarah, as they assumed she would get nothing more than a small sum of money, perhaps some old artworks or a small trust fund, with which she could play with her art. The day of the will reading arrived. Mr. David Stone, the principal lawyer of the prestigious Manhattan law firm, Stone and Associates, began to read Arthur's will with a solemn face. His office room was silent. Only the ticking of the clock could be heard, synchronizing with everyone's heartbeats. Through the large office window, the busy streets of New York could be seen, but everyone's eyes inside were fixed on Mr. Stone. Every family member, Richard, Martha, their two sons Alex and Brian, and Sarah, waited with bated breath. Mr. Stone first mentioned Arthur's personal assets, bank accounts, and various investments. Then he began to speak about the distribution of Sterling International shares. Firstly, Arthur Sterling has bequeathed a significant portion of his personal assets and 10% of Sterling International shares to his eldest son, Richard Sterling. Mr. Stone read. A wide smile spread across Richard's face. He winked at Martha. Next, Richard Sterling's sons, Alex Sterling and Brian Sterling, will each receive 5% of Sterling International shares and a specific sum of money, Mr. Stone continued. Alex and Brian also began to whisper among themselves, their eyes gleaming with victory. They had already started discussing models for their new luxury cars when Sarah was mentioned for a small trust fund, a negligible amount compared to what they received. Her uncle and his sons exchanged sarcastic smiles. Martha whispered, "I knew it. She wouldn't get anything more than this. Let her stick to her art." Sarah's face turned pale, her eyes welled up, but she did not protest. She just kept looking at her grandfather's picture, as if her grandfather was comforting her. She felt that perhaps her grandfather had misunderstood her in the end. But when Mr. Stone began to read a special clause, the smiles vanished from everyone's faces. His voice grew even more solemn, as if he was about to unveil a great secret. And now, Arthur Sterling's most important legacy. My beloved granddaughter, Sarah Sterling, who has been misunderstood by many, has realized my greatest dream. Many years ago, I invested in a small startup company called Nexus Innovations. This company was then a small garage startup, run by just a few young engineers in a corner of Silicon Valley. But Sarah made me understand its potential. She told me how technology and creativity could merge to create a new world. Her foresight and technological knowledge were the main driving forces behind this investment. She introduced me to the founder of this company, a young entrepreneur of Indian descent, Riya Sharma. Ria and Sarah together managed to convince me that this company would one day change the world. Mr. Stone paused, looking at everyone's faces. Richard's face had turned pale, his eyes wide. Alex and Brian stared at each other in bewilderment. Today, Nexus Innovations is a billion-dollar technology giant, creating a bridge between art and technology worldwide. It is now one of the most influential tech companies in the world, with a market value several times greater than Sterling International. According to my will, all shares of Nexus Innovations, which constitute approximately 70% of Arthur Sterling's total assets, and the control of Sterling International will be handed over to Sarah Sterling, because she is the only person who can properly manage this vast wealth and carry forward my dream. Sarah Sterling, you will be the new CEO of Sterling International and the principal shareholder of Nexus Innovations. A pin-drop silence filled the room. The smiles vanished from Richard and his son's faces, their eyes wide with shock. Martha's mouth hung open, her diamond necklace trembling in her hand. Sarah herself was stunned. She did not know that her grandfather had made such a huge secret investment. However, she often discussed technology with her grandfather and frequently gave him ideas for new startups. Her grandfather might have leveraged her interest then, but Sarah could not have imagined that he had kept such a significant matter secret for so long. She remembered her grandfather often telling her, "The most valuable things are not always in plain sight, Sarah. You have to find them." Mr. Stone smiled gently at Sarah. "Miss Sterling, your grandfather wanted you to carry forward his dream. He knew you could. He saw in you the leadership qualities that would take Sterling International to new heights. He believed that your humanity and creativity would give these two businesses a new direction." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. This was not just an inheritance, it was a profound recognition of her grandfather's trust and love for her. Those in the family who had called her a failure were now speechless. Their greed and arrogance had been crushed. Richard's face turned red with anger, but he had nothing to say. The will was final and indisputable. Richard stood up from his chair, his eyes fixed on Sarah. "This is impossible. This cannot be. Sarah? She's an art dropout. How can she take charge of such a big company? Grandfather must have made a mistake." Mr. Stone calmly replied, "Mr. Sterling, your father was a very wise man. He made every decision very thoughtfully. The will clearly states that Sarah Sterling will take full responsibility for these two companies. If you have any objections, you can go to court. But I can assure you, this will is completely legal and indisputable." Martha pulled Richard's hand, making him sit down. "Calm down, Richard. There's nothing more to do now." Sarah slowly stood up. Her voice was calm but firm. "I know this is unexpected for you all, but I honor my grandfather's trust. I want to assure you that I will do my utmost to advance Sterling International and Nexus Innovations even further." The next few months were a time of new challenges for Sarah. In the Sterling International board meetings, she often faced resistance from Richard and his sons. They questioned her every decision, trying to prove her incompetent. Richard would often say to Sarah in board meetings, "Can your knowledge from art school really run a real estate business? This isn't a canvas where you can spread colors as you wish." Alex and Brian also opposed every proposal of Sarah, trying to belittle her. But Sarah tackled everything with the determination she learned from her grandfather and her innate intelligence. She began to apply Nexus Innovations technology to Sterling International's real estate business. Virtual reality tours, AI-powered property valuation, and blockchain-based transactions. Under Sarah's leadership, Sterling International entered a new era. She undertook new projects that were not only profitable, but also environmentally friendly and beneficial to society. Sarah not only expanded the business, but also did not forget her grandfather's humanitarian values. She established the Sterling Foundation, which supported young artists and technologists. She invested in community development projects that created housing and employment opportunities for underprivileged people. These initiatives not only increased business profits, but also elevated Sterling International's reputation to new heights. The mayor of New York praised Sarah's initiative and awarded her the Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. 1 year later, at Sterling International's annual general meeting, Sarah presented her success report. The company's profit had doubled, and by merging with Nexus Innovations, they had emerged as a new force in the global market. Richard and his sons, who once ridiculed Sarah, were now silent spectators. Their eyes held surprise and remorse. Richard, whose face was always red with anger, now had a strange mix of emotions: defeat, surprise, and perhaps a touch of respect. After the meeting, Richard approached Sarah. His voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Sarah, I was wrong. I never understood you. Grandfather was right. There is something special about you." Sarah looked at Richard and smiled gently. "Uncle," grandfather always said, "family comes first. We are all part of the Sterling family. I want us all to work together." Richard nodded in agreement, his head bowed. Tears of remorse were in his eyes.